My childhood friend handed me his business partnership contract excitedly. I'm a corporate attorney. Isn't this? When Ethan Caldwell slid the partnership agreement across my desk at 3:17 p.m. on a Thursday afternoon, he was grinning like he'd just won the lottery. Isn't this amazing? He said, tapping the cover page with his index finger. I'm finally doing it. Real business. Real investment. Everything we used to talk about. I'm a corporate attorney. 17 years of practice with Berkshire and Klein, specializing in mergers, acquisitions, and partnership structures. I've reviewed over 4,000 contracts in my career. I can spot predatory clauses the way a sommelier identifies a corked wine, instantly, instinctively, before my conscious mind fully processes what I'm seeing. And what I saw on page 3 made my stomach drop. The equity distribution clause was structured to guarantee Ethan would lose everything within 18 months. Not might lose, would lose, mathematically certain. Where did you get this? I asked, keeping my voice level. Ethan beamed, oblivious to the catastrophe he'd just handed me. Julian Prescott. You remember him? He was 2 grades ahead of us at Riverside High. He's a venture capitalist now, made millions in tech startups. He reached out to me last month about partnering on my software platform. I remembered Julian Prescott, debate team captain, student council president, the kind of charismatic sociopath who convinced everyone he was destined for greatness while quietly cheating on every exam. He'd gotten caught plagiarizing his college admissions essay, but somehow still gotten into Stanford because his father donated a library wing. When are you supposed to sign this? Tomorrow morning, 9 a.m. at his office downtown. He's got the funding ready to go. We're talking $2 million in seed capital. I closed the document. Don't sign anything. Give me 48 hours to review this properly. Ethan's smile faltered. What? Why? Julian said it was standard stuff. Boilerplate partnership agreement. He said his lawyers already vetted it. I am a lawyer. Let me vet it too. Come on, man. You're being paranoid. Julian's a friend. He wouldn't screw me over. I looked at Ethan. Really looked at him. 34 years old, 5'9", thinning sandy hair, wire-rimmed glasses he'd worn since middle school. The same Ethan who'd let me copy his math homework in 7th grade. The same Ethan who'd driven me to the hospital at 2 a.m. when I had appendicitis in college. The same Ethan who'd been my best man at my wedding 3 years ago. Smart, trusting, brilliant with code, absolutely terrible at reading people. Ethan, I said carefully, this isn't paranoia. This is my job. Let me do my job. He hesitated, then nodded. Okay, 48 hours. But don't kill this for me. This is my shot. I've been building this platform for 3 years. Julian's the first person who really gets the vision. After Ethan left, I locked my office door and read the entire contract. 73 pages. Every page worse than the last. The structure was brilliant in its cruelty. On the surface, it looked generous. Ethan would receive 51% ownership of the new company, giving him apparent control. Julian would hold 49%, but buried in Section 8.3, subsection D, was a clause that redefined voting shares versus equity shares. Ethan's 51% was equity only. Julian's 49% included 100% of voting rights for any decision involving expenditures over $5,000, new hires, contracts with third parties, or changes to company structure, meaning Ethan owned the majority of nothing. He had no actual control. Worse, Section 12.7 included a performance milestone clause. If the company didn't reach $500,000 in revenue by month 18, Julian had the right to buy out Ethan's shares for $1. $1. For 3 years of development work and 51% of a company that Julian would then own entirely, and the revenue target was impossible. The contract explicitly prohibited Ethan from drawing a salary for the first 18 months. He'd have to work full-time without pay while simultaneously funding his own living expenses. Most people would burn through savings and quit before month 12. But even if Ethan somehow survived financially, Section 9.4 gave Julian unilateral authority to approve or reject any sales contracts. He could simply refuse every deal, guarantee the revenue target failed, then buy Ethan's shares for $1 and own the entire platform. It was elegant, devastating, completely legal. I pulled up my laptop and started researching. Julian Prescott, age 36, founder and CEO of Prescott Ventures, based in Seattle but maintained an office in Phoenix. His website showed photographs of him speaking at tech conferences, shaking hands with politicians, posing with other entrepreneurs. Testimonials gushed about his mentorship and vision. But when I dug deeper, the pattern emerged. I found 7 companies in the past 6 years where Julian had been listed as a co-founder or partner. Every single one had the same trajectory. Promising startup. Young founder with a great idea but no business experience. Julian providing funding and expertise. Then 18 to 24 months later, the company would restructure. The original founder would disappear from the corporate filings. Julian would be listed as sole owner. I tracked down 3 of those founders. The first, Nathan Torres, now worked as a project manager at a software company in Austin. I called him at 6:15 p.m. Mr. Torres, my name is David Brennan. I'm an attorney in Phoenix. I'm reviewing a partnership contract involving Julian Prescott, and I'd appreciate a few minutes of your time. Silence. Then, what kind of contract? Business partnership. Software development. Don't sign it. Whatever it is, don't sign it. Can you tell me what happened with your company? Nathan's voice was bitter. I spent 4 years developing a project management platform. Julian approached me at a tech conference in 2019, said he loved the vision, offered $2 million in funding. I signed the partnership agreement without really reading it. Stupid. So incredibly stupid. What happened? I worked 80-hour weeks for 18 months. No salary. Burned through my savings. My wife left me. I was sleeping in my office. We were 3 weeks away from our revenue target when Julian rejected a contract with a client who wanted to pay us $200,000. He said the terms weren't favorable. They were completely standard terms. I realized later he tanked the deal on purpose. To trigger the buyout clause. Exactly. He bought my shares for $500. $500. Then he turned around and sold the entire company to Microsoft for $8.3 million 6 months later. Did you take legal action? I talked to a lawyer. She said the contract was airtight. Julian hadn't broken any laws. He'd just been smarter than me. I couldn't afford to fight him in court anyway. He had resources. I had nothing. I thanked Nathan and hung up. Then I called the second founder. Alexis Chen had built an AI-driven analytics tool. Same story. Julian's partnership. Brutal contract terms. Impossible revenue targets. Her buyout had been $750. Julian sold her company for $6.2 million 14 months later. The third founder, Michael Okoye, didn't want to talk. I signed an NDA, he said when I called. I can't discuss it, but tell your client to run. Tell him to run as fast as he can. I worked until 11 p.m., documenting everything. Then I drove to Ethan's apartment in Tempe. He lived in a modest 2-bedroom near the university, graduate student housing that he'd never bothered to leave even after finishing his master's degree 8 years ago. He answered the door in sweatpants and a faded t-shirt from a coding conference. David, what are you doing here? I need to show you something. I laid out everything I'd found. The contract analysis, the pattern of Julian's previous partnerships, the interviews with Nathan and Alexis. Ethan listened, his face growing paler with each detail. He's done this before? 7 times in 6 years. Always the same structure. Always young founders with great ideas and no business experience. He funds them, works them to exhaustion, then uses the contract terms to steal everything they built. But he said he believed in my vision. He said I was brilliant. You are brilliant. That's why he targeted you. Your platform is worth millions. He knows it. He just wants to take it from you without paying for it. Ethan sat down heavily on his couch. His hands were shaking. I almost signed it. I was going to sign it tomorrow morning. I know. What do? You walk away. You tell Julian the deal is off. Then you find legitimate funding from people who won't destroy you. But nobody else is offering funding. I've pitched to 20 venture capital firms. They all said the market was too saturated. Julian was the only one who believed in me. Julian doesn't believe in you. He believes in stealing from you. Ethan was quiet for a long time. Then he said, I can't just walk away. I need funding. I've got $8,000 in my bank account. I can't keep developing this platform on nights and weekends forever. I'm 34 years old. I'm running out of time. Then we find another way. But you don't sign with Julian. What if there is no other way? I didn't have an answer. The next morning, I called Julian's office. A receptionist answered. Professional. Polite. Prescott Ventures. How may I direct your call? Julian Prescott, please. This is David Brennan calling regarding Ethan Morrison's partnership agreement. One moment. Julian picked up almost immediately. His voice was smooth, confident. David Brennan, Ethan mentioned you might call. You're the attorney friend, right? Corporate attorney. I've reviewed the partnership agreement. Great. Any questions? I know legal documents can look intimidating, but I assure you everything is standard industry practice. Section 8.3, subsection D, the voting rights structure. What about it? It gives you complete control despite Ethan holding majority equity. Well, yes, that's standard in venture capital partnerships. The investor needs protection. Ethan's brilliant with code, but he's never run a business. I can't have him making impulsive decisions that tank my investment. Section 12.7, the revenue milestone buyout clause. Again, standard. I'm putting $2 million into this company. If Ethan can't deliver results, I need an exit strategy that protects my investment. Your exit strategy lets you buy his shares for $1, only if he fails to meet reasonable performance targets. The targets aren't reasonable. You've structured them to be impossible. Julian's voice hardened slightly. Mr. Brennan, I've funded 37 successful startups in the past decade. I think I know how to structure a reasonable partnership agreement. If Ethan has concerns, I'm happy to discuss them with him directly. But I'm not going to let a paranoid attorney kill a deal that would change his life. I've spoken with Nathan Torres and Alexis Chen. Silence. Long, cold silence. Then, those were different situations. They were identical situations. You used the same contract structure to steal their companies. I bought them out according to the terms we'd agreed upon. Everything was legal. Everything was documented. If they have complaints, they should have read what they signed. You're a predator. I'm a businessman. And if you convince Ethan to walk away from this deal, you'll be the one destroying his future. Not me. He hung up. I sat at my desk, staring at the phone. Julian was right about one thing. Everything he'd done was technically legal. Unethical, cruel, exploitative, but legal. The courts wouldn't help. I called Ethan. He knows we're onto him. You need to cancel tomorrow's meeting. I already did. I emailed him this morning. Said I needed more time to review the terms. How did he respond? He said that was fine. He said we could meet next week instead. He was really understanding about it. Understanding. Of course he was. Julian had done this before. He knew how to be patient, how to wait for doubt to fade, how to rebuild trust. I needed a different strategy. That afternoon, I contacted Rebecca Ostroff, an investigative journalist with the Phoenix Business Journal who'd covered tech industry fraud for 15 years. I explained the situation. She listened carefully. You said Julian's done this 7 times? At least 7 that I've found. There could be more. And all the contracts were structured the same way? Variations on the same theme, always designed to force the founder out and transfer ownership to Julian. That's a pattern. Patterns are stories. Can you investigate? I can try, but I'll need sources willing to go on record. NDAs make that complicated. I've got 2 founders who'll talk, Nathan Torres and Alexis Chen. Michael Okoye signed an NDA, but maybe you can work around it. Send me everything you've got. I'll start digging. I sent Rebecca all my research. Then I called Ethan. I need you to do something for me. It's going to sound paranoid, but trust me. What? I need you to record any conversations you have with Julian from now on. Arizona's a one-party consent state. You can legally record conversations you're part of without telling the other person. Why would I need to record him? Because I think he's going to pressure you. I think he's going to try to manipulate you into signing anyway. And if he does, I want evidence. David, this feels extreme. Ethan, he's stolen millions from 7 different people. Extreme is appropriate. He agreed. 2 days later, Julian called Ethan. Ethan recorded the conversation and sent me the audio file. Julian's voice was friendly, concerned. Hey, Ethan, just checking in. Your attorney friend seemed pretty hostile when we talked. I hope he's not filling your head with conspiracy theories. He's just being thorough. I get it. Lawyers are trained to see problems everywhere, but I've been doing this for a long time. I've helped dozens of entrepreneurs build successful companies. Ask any of them. They'll tell you I'm the real deal. Can you give me some names? People I could talk to? Absolutely. I'll send you a list. Look, I know David's trying to protect you, but he's protecting you from the wrong thing. The real risk isn't this partnership. The real risk is waiting so long that someone else builds what you're building. The market window for your platform is narrow. In 6 months, some company with more resources is going to launch something similar, and your opportunity will be gone. I understand. Do you? Because I'm offering you $2 million and my expertise. I'm offering you a chance to turn 3 years of work into something that actually matters, and your friend is telling you to walk away. That's not protection. That's sabotage. I just need a little more time. How much time? Because I've got 3 other opportunities I'm evaluating. You're my first choice, but I can't wait forever. The manipulation was textbook. Create urgency. Isolate the target from outside advice. Position yourself as the only solution. I played the recording for Ethan in my office. Do you hear it? I asked. The way he's pressuring you? He said he'd send me references. Other entrepreneurs he's helped. He won't. Or if he does, they'll be carefully selected people who didn't get screwed. He's had 37 investments. 7 turned into thefts. The other 30 were probably legitimate because those founders had good attorneys or because Julian didn't see an opportunity to steal their work. Ethan rubbed his face. I don't know what to do. I can't keep living like this. I'm broke. I'm exhausted. I need this to work. Then we make it work without Julian. How? That's when I had the idea. I called my wife, Melissa. She's a financial analyst at Northern Trust Bank. 15 years of experience in investment portfolio management. Mel, hypothetically, if I had a friend with a revolutionary software platform who needed $2 million in seed funding, where would he find legitimate investors? Why, hypothetically? Because I actually have a friend in exactly that situation. She thought about it. Depends on the platform. What does it do? I explained Ethan's software. It was a project management tool that used machine learning to predict project delays before they happened. It analyzed team communication patterns, resource allocation, historical data, and could flag problems weeks in advance. Melissa was quiet. Then she said, "That's actually brilliant. Construction companies would pay a fortune for that. Engineering firms. Any industry with complex project timelines." That's what Ethan's been saying. But he can't get funding. Has he talked to industry-specific investors? Construction VCs? Infrastructure funds? I don't think he knows those exist. Set up a meeting with him. I'll make some calls. 3 days later, Melissa had arranged a meeting with Patricia Volkov, managing partner at Build Tech Capital, a venture fund specializing in construction technology. Patricia was 52, former civil engineer who'd transitioned into investment management after selling her own construction software company for $30 million. We met at her office in Scottsdale on a Friday morning. Ethan demonstrated his platform. Patricia watched, asked questions, took notes. After 40 minutes, she sat back. "This is good. Really good. How much are you looking for?" $2 million in seed funding, Ethan said. "For how much equity?" I was thinking 49%. Patricia shook her head. "I'll give you $2 million for 30%, and I'll introduce you to every construction firm and engineering company in my network. But I want a board seat, and I want you to hire a proper CFO within 6 months." Ethan looked at me. I nodded. "That's a fair offer. Let me review the term sheet before he signs anything. But Patricia's reputation is solid. She's not going to destroy you. I'm definitely not going to destroy you, Patricia said dryly. I'm going to make both of us a lot of money. Ethan grinned. For the first time in weeks, he looked genuinely happy. Okay, let's do it. That evening, Ethan called Julian to tell him the deal was off. I was with Ethan when he made the call, listening on speaker. Julian, it's Ethan. I wanted to let you know I've decided to pursue funding elsewhere. Julian's voice was ice. Elsewhere where? Build Tech Capital. Patricia Volkov. Patricia Volkov. Julian laughed, but there was no humor in it. You're making a mistake. Build Tech is conservative, small thinking. I was offering you a chance to build something revolutionary. Patricia's going to turn your platform into another boring enterprise software tool. I'm comfortable with my decision. No, you're comfortable with David Brennan's decision. He's convinced you I'm some kind of predator. He's poisoned this opportunity. David helped me understand what I was signing. David helped you throw away the best chance you'll ever get. But fine. Walk away. See how far you get with Patricia's 30% equity offer. You could have had 51% with me. I would have had 51% of nothing. The voting rights structure gave you complete control. Silence. Then Julian said quietly, Ethan, let me be very clear. You're burning a bridge right now. I don't forget people who waste my time. I don't forget people who insult me by listening to paranoid lawyers over our friendship. You walk away now, and you'll regret it. Is that a threat? It's a prediction. Julian hung up. Ethan looked shaken. He sounded dangerous. He is dangerous. But only if you let him get close. Rebecca Ostroff published her investigation 2 months later. The headline read, Phoenix Venture Capitalists' Pattern of Predatory Partnerships. The article was devastating. Rebecca had tracked down 11 founders who'd partnered with Julian. 7 had been forced out through contract clauses identical to the one Ethan had been offered. She'd obtained copies of the contracts through public business filings. She'd interviewed the victims. She'd calculated that Julian had acquired companies worth approximately $43 million in total value, while paying the original founders less than $10,000 combined. The article included expert analysis from a Harvard Business School professor who called Julian's tactics legal but unconscionable. It quoted a former state attorney general who said the contracts exploited the power imbalance between experienced investors and naive entrepreneurs. It featured photographs of Julian at tech conferences, smiling and shaking hands, with captions identifying the founders standing beside him and noting which of their companies he'd stolen. The response was immediate. 3 venture capital firms announced they were cutting ties with Julian. A tech industry association rescinded an award they'd given him. Stanford, his alma mater, removed him from an alumni advisory board. But the legal consequences were minimal. As Nathan Torres had discovered, everything Julian had done was technically legal. No prosecutor filed charges. No regulatory agency opened an investigation. Julian released a statement through his attorney calling the article a hit piece, based on disgruntled former partners who failed to meet performance expectations. For a few weeks, it seemed like Julian would simply weather the storm. Then, Alexis Chen filed a civil lawsuit, not for fraud, not for theft, but for intentional infliction of emotional distress and unfair business practices. Her attorney was Margaret Sato, a litigation specialist known for taking on impossible cases. The lawsuit claimed that Julian had deliberately structured the partnership to cause psychological harm, that he'd targeted vulnerable entrepreneurs, that his pattern of behavior constituted systematic exploitation. The lawsuit wasn't about winning money. It was about discovery. During discovery, Margaret subpoenaed Julian's emails, texts, and internal business documents. What she found was damning. Email threads where Julian discussed identifying desperate founders, messages where he joked about the revenue target trap, a spreadsheet tracking acquisition targets, companies he planned to steal from founders who didn't know what they were signing. Margaret released selected documents to the press. Rebecca wrote follow-up articles. Other journalists picked up the story. Julian became a cautionary tale, a symbol of Silicon Valley's predatory investment culture. 3 more founders filed lawsuits, then 2 more. Julian's attorney tried to get the cases dismissed, but the judge allowed them to proceed. The legal fees mounted. Julian's business partners distanced themselves. His deal flow dried up completely. Nobody wanted to partner with the man who'd become synonymous with predatory contracts. 18 months after Ethan walked away from Julian's partnership, Prescott Ventures declared bankruptcy. Julian personally filed for Chapter 11. The companies he'd stolen were sold to pay creditors. He didn't make a profit on any of them. Ethan's platform, meanwhile, had grown into a $23 million business. Patricia's network had delivered exactly as promised. Construction firms, engineering companies, and project-based businesses were paying substantial licensing fees. Ethan had hired a CFO, a sales director, and a team of developers. He'd moved into a real office. He'd started dating someone. He looked healthier than I'd seen him in years. We met for lunch on a Saturday in December. He showed me the latest revenue reports. We're projecting $35 million next year, he said. Patricia thinks we could sell to one of the major enterprise software companies if we wanted. Do you want to? Maybe eventually, but not yet. I'm finally doing what I always wanted to do. Build something that matters. Own my work. I'm not in a hurry to give that up. You almost did. I know. He was quiet for a moment. I've thought about that a lot. How close I came to signing Julian's contract. If you hadn't reviewed it, if you hadn't researched him, if you hadn't pushed me to wait, you'd have lost everything. Yeah, but you didn't. You trusted me, and you walked away. I trusted you, and you saved my life. I didn't know how to respond to that, so I just nodded. We finished lunch. As we were leaving, Ethan said, I heard Julian's working at a tech consulting firm now. Junior analyst position. $48,000 a year. Karma. Is it though? He stole $43 million from people. He destroyed lives, and his punishment is a middle management job and some bad press. That's not justice. It's the justice we got, I guess. Ethan looked at me. Thank you. For caring enough to dig into this. For protecting me, even when I didn't want to be protected. For being a better friend than I deserved. You deserved it. You always did. 6 months later, I got a call from Margaret Sato. Mr. Brennan, I'm calling about the Julian Prescott cases. Your name came up in Discovery. How? Emails. Julian kept detailed records of everyone involved in the partnerships that fell through. He had quite a bit to say about you. I'm sure it was flattering. Actually, it was evidence. He wrote extensively about his strategy for pressuring Ethan Morrison despite your interference. Some of it borders on admitting intentional wrongdoing. I think we can use it in trial. What do you need from me? Testimony. You reviewed the contract, you investigated the pattern, you witnessed the pressure tactics. You're the person who stopped him from getting Ethan. That narrative is powerful. I testified at Alexis Chen's trial in April. The courtroom was small, sterile, fluorescent lit. Julian sat at the defense table in an expensive suit that didn't fit quite right anymore. He'd lost weight. He looked older, harder. I explained how I'd reviewed the partnership contract Ethan brought me, how I'd identified the predatory clauses, how I'd researched Julian's history and discovered the pattern. Margaret asked, in your professional opinion as a corporate attorney with 17 years of experience, was this contract designed to benefit both parties equally? No. It was designed to transfer ownership from the founder to Julian while making the founder believe they had control. Was Mr. Morrison aware of this structure? Not until I explained it to him. What would have happened if Mr. Morrison had signed this contract? Based on the structure and Julian's history, Ethan would have worked without salary for 18 months, failed to meet impossible revenue targets, and been forced to sell his shares for less than $100. Julian would have then owned a platform worth millions. The jury deliberated for 8 hours. They found in favor of Alexis Chen, awarded her $2.3 million in damages. It was more symbolic than practical. Julian was bankrupt and couldn't pay, but it set a precedent. The other lawsuits settled. Julian signed agreements acknowledging wrongdoing. He was barred from working in venture capital or investment management. The founders received small settlements, apologies, and the satisfaction of watching Julian's reputation turn to ash. I didn't feel triumphant. I felt tired. The whole thing had taken 3 years, cost hundreds of thousands in legal fees, and destroyed lives that could never be fully repaired. Justice wasn't a victory. It was just the least worst outcome after someone had already caused tremendous harm. But Ethan was okay. That mattered. He was building something real, working with people who valued him, living the life he'd worked so hard to create. I saw him at a tech industry conference in September. He was on a panel discussing AI applications in project management. He spoke confidently, answered questions thoughtfully, looked comfortable in his own skin. Afterward, we grabbed coffee. How's Patricia? I asked. Great. She's been amazing. Mentorship, connections, actual advice instead of manipulation. I can't believe I almost chose Julian instead. You didn't know. I should have. The signs were there. Signs are only obvious in hindsight. Ethan smiled, spoken like a lawyer. I am a lawyer. The best one I know. We talked for an hour. About his business. About my practice. About life. When we were leaving, Ethan said, I know I've said this before, but I need to say it again. Thank you. For seeing what I couldn't see. For protecting me when I was too stupid to protect myself. For being the kind of friend who does the hard thing instead of the easy thing. That's just friendship. No, it's not. Most people would have looked at that contract, said good luck, and walked away. You didn't walk away. You fought for me. I'll never forget that. I watched him leave, walking toward a life that almost didn't exist.